to our kitchen. This is number 280. I have not been here for about a couple of months. Unfortunately, I broke my wrist and I did not feel comfortable being able to do any kind of cooking. So we asked a favorite of our station who's done other programs, along with a couple of cooking ones, Sue Jacobs. And you know her from the exercise and interviews, and she graciously said, I'll take your place as long as you need, and I thank her very much. Well, it's the end of the year that we're taping this, and I feel pretty confident I can do most of the stuff with both hands now. And I had the opportunity to ask my son to come in. He has the week off from his place where he works, Bread Euphoria, which is down in Haydenville. He is the savory chef there, but at home he likes to do some pastry recipes. And this past fall he said, I'm going to bring you this kind of a pie selection of fruit, and he used apple the first time. See how you like it, and it's called a Galette, and we loved it. Now, we found out, and this is why I like it, and I wanted him to. He made one for Thanksgiving, and he made one for Christmas because we asked him to. Those 2 times he used pears. So it can be fruit, all kinds of fruit, and even a couple of other strange things. But I wanted him to do it for a couple of reasons. Not only is it good, but if you like fruit pies, you know you've got a bottom crust and a top crust. And that's calories, fat with the pastry. With this, you only use a bottom crust. And if you didn't want to use around the outside, eat the outside, you don't have to. The other thing is, though his recipe called for sugar along with spices, the amount he put together, he didn't need all of it. So even a person watching their sugar, the recipe, the finished product, has less fat with only 1 crust, less sugar or sweetener, because he found that he didn't have to use all that. So he's available this week, and I said, please come and show us how you did they come out very interesting, and they're very good. So this is Jeffrey Ostrich, and I'm going to have you, I'm turning it over to you to start your...
Thank you, Mother. Thank you for having me back. So yeah, we're going to make a galette today, and a galette is a French term that's sort of covers a bunch of round, free-form cakes. Sometimes they're made with puff pastry, sometimes they're made with pie dough, sometimes they're made like pancakes even. But we're going to do a fruit galette, which we're going to do with pears today. So we're going to start with a 9-inch pastry, pie pastry. If you want to make it yourself, you can, or if you want to buy one, perfectly fine. Just make sure if you're buying one, do yourself a favor and let it sit to room temperature first, because they're so much easier to work with if they're soft enough. They won't crack on you. So we want a 9-inch pie plate or a pie crust, and 3 to 4 medium-sized pears. Get a baking pan and line it with some parchment paper if you got it. If not, you can throw some cornmeal down or something so that the crust doesn't actually stick to the bottom of the pan. And you want 3 to 4 medium-sized pears. They're better if they're riper. If you want to buy them earlier in the week, if you're going to make it on the weekend, let them sit for a few days. I have Bartlett pears here. You can use any kind of pears, I think. And so we're going to take them and cut them in half, right down the middle. And you're going to want to core the seeds out of the center. I'm using what we call a tomato shark. It's for taking the tops off tomatoes. If you have a little teaspoon or any other sort of melon baller, that'll work too. And you just want to curl that in and take out your seeds.
Now, I said that you like to come up with or do things at home too, because down at Bread Euphoria, you're the soup, pastry, not pastry.
I make soups and quiches, yes, ma'am.
And you still do mac and cheese?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
We do pizzas.
again, coming up with all these different pizzas, and there's a lot of sandwiches available. And right on Route 9 in Haydenville.
Yeah, and so once we've got the center core out, we're just going to take our knife and make little V cuts to get rid of the little stem that runs from the top of the pear to the bottom. And after we do this, we're going to take our pears and let me clean that up. And we're going to flip them cut side down, and you're going to slice them 1/8 of an inch thick from the long way. Now, this is probably much the toughest part of this whole recipe, but the more you do them, the easier they get. If you can't get them this thick or this thin, it's okay, but they will make the end product look that much nicer. I've already done a couple of these because speed the process a little bit. Now, I'm using pears, but I've used apples, you can use seasonal fruits like strawberries and blueberries, raspberries, or other stone fruits like peaches, nectarines, plums. I've even used fresh tomatoes in the summertime, make a savory galette. All right, one more. All right, once we've got our pears cut, you want to leave them together. Don't break up the slices. Okay. Now, got our pears cut. Now we're going to take 1/2 cup of sugar, and I've got a tablespoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of cloves, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried ginger, and a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And just want to mix those in to the sugar. And then stir that. Get them nicely blended. Okay. Now, at this point, we're going to assemble our galette. See, it's pretty easy so far. Going to take our pie crust, and I like to sprinkle a little bit of the sugar, a spoon, onto the crust first. Don't go too far to the edge, but right in the middle. And then we take our pears and we gently fan them on the crust. Then you take the next one and you can put that right alongside. And keep doing that. Oops, with the pear halves. It's not going to look perfect, but the randomness of it kind of adds to the flair. Now you may not use all of your pears that you've cut based on their size. Then you can always go and add a few more to round out your.
They have been a hit. I think every place you have taken one, they were a hit at Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Well, they look really fancy, but they're not that hard.
No.
And then here comes the fun part. Now we take the rest of our sugar and you sprinkle it over the top. But you also sprinkle it in between all of the pear slices. And that adds a lot of caramelization when you put it in the oven, all the sugar.
Yeah.
And as Nancy was saying, if you feel like you put enough sugar on it, you can stop. If you want to keep going, that works too. I have a feeling I'm not even going to use all this sugar. So yeah, you just put as much sugar as you want in between all the little layers. And then, so we're not even using all of that. And then comes the fun part. Try to put these all back together. And then you take your crust and you just bring it up an inch or two and make some folds and just bring it all together. Now, it's not going to look perfect, but that's part of the charm. There we go. Now, there you go. Now you're going to want one beaten egg. And we're going to take a pastry brush and just egg wash the exposed pastry. Make sure you get in every little nook and cranny and don't skimp on the egg because it's going to aid in browning the pastry when it's in the oven. And it will help our next ingredient, which is a little decor sugar, which is a very coarse-grained sugar for finishing pastries. Or if you have some coarse-grained brown sugar, or if you didn't have any sugar, if you had some sesame seeds, you want to sprinkle those on there, they would give it a nice little look to it too. So get your egg wash good and covered. There we go. And if your pie crust breaks at all when you're doing this, you can just go back, kind of smoosh it together a little bit, because you want to try to keep any of the juices from coming out as it bakes. Okay, so now we have just a little bit of our fancy coarse grained sugar, and you sprinkle that right along the edges. Gives it a nice professional look to it. Okay, now we have a 425 degree oven. We've got heated up already. So we're going to pop this right in there.
And with my timer.
And we're going to cook that for about 25 minutes.
Okay. Now it comes back to me, and what was I going to do? to top. I can't top my son's recipe. But soups are always possible. Around here, it's getting to be into the winter, and I decided to just make a very easy one, the Hamburg vegetable. Now there's many ways, different vegetables you could use, incorporate, not incorporate. So I'm just going to go how I have decided to make this particular one. Not knowing how easy it was going to be to lift things and everything, beforehand I took my pound of Hamburg and I browned it in this pot here with the chopped onion, celery, and carrots. So they all have kind of the flavor of the Hamburg. And actually, even though I use 15% fat in my ground beef, I didn't drain anything off with it. So they cooked down for a while, and now I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients that I want to put into this soup. I'm going to take a can of diced tomatoes. And back here I have some kidney beans, half a cup, 3/4 of a cup, whatever, however. If you love kidney beans, you'll put in more. You know, this is a soup you can put in what you have, what you like more or less. And I need liquid. I have a cup here of beef broth, of course. And you need this is concentrated beef broth, and I need to add water to it. You probably 3 cups of liquid. Now I also had some tomato sauce that I wanted to, this spaghetti or tomato sauce that I wanted to use up. So I'm going to add some of that. Check. I want to check to see. Okay. Another thing I have found with spaghetti sauce or using tomato base for your soups or whatever you're cooking, I like a little sweetness sometimes in place of, to help with the tomato acidy taste. So I either use honey, or I've gotten to use agave, if that's the way you say it. It's a lighter, it's not quite as sweet as honey. Another thing I like to, talking about carrots, in the water that I boil carrots in, I will put some of this in just to sweeten carrots up even more. Again, it's a soup. You know, if a lot of people have made it, that you can use what you want, what you have on hand. would put some pasta in it, noodles. I like orzo. So now it's just a matter of warming it up, and of course, excuse me, the best will probably be tomorrow when flavors have time to mingle. So make it a day ahead if you know you want soup for tomorrow. We hope it gets a little bit colder because it's like comfort food. Now I shouldn't say that, but it's winter, supposed to be winter here in the Berkshires. But we can't tell what the weather's going to do for us. So the galette is baking in the oven, and I'm warming the soup up, and when we return, I think we will be at our table. Welcome back to our table. We have this is number 280, as I said before. We're closing out the end of a year, so it's starting to get cold, and I decided I have a guest today, which I will introduce in a minute. I thought I'd do another soup, and this was a very easy Hamburg vegetable soup that you get at restaurants and make at home very easily. I have a husband who loves soups, though I don't always make them that often at home. But anyways, this Hamburg vegetable is easy to make because you just start out by browning your pound of ground beef. And actually what I did is when I was browning the ground beef, I put in the celery, the chopped onion, and sliced carrots, and let them all cook down together, hoping to give the vegetables more flavor of the Hamburg. After that was done, I added about 3 cups of liquid, and I would definitely use beef bouillon for more flavor as opposed to just water. And I also had some tomato spaghetti sauce that I wanted to use up some of, along with a can of diced tomatoes. So I used that, the sauce and the beef bouillon. And I said I like sometimes to have a little sweeter taste to soups or tomato sauces that and I've started using not only honey but guava syrup, and that's not as sweet as the honey. So that is all cooked down, and you know that tomorrow the soup will taste even better than the day that you make it. So that being said, I want to turn it over to my son, Jeff, who is a savory chef out at Bread Euphoria in Haydenville. But he also likes to dabble in pastries and has been making, and everyone just loves them, the thing called a galette, which is a French creation of different fillings. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to have him go over the recipe.
Thank you. Yes, a galette is just a French term for a round, unformed cake. So you can do a lot of things with it. We did a fruit galette today, which has pears in it. And so we took the pie dough, regular old pie crust, and we took our 3 to 4 pears and halved them, cored them, and then sliced them about 1/8 inch thick lengthwise. When you do that, you keep the pears together, and then you mix up some sugar and spices such as cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and ginger. And then you arrange the pears on your pie shell, sort of sliding them, I don't know, what do you... diagonally spread them out a little bit so that they you expose some of the sides, some of the slices. Then you take your sugar and you sprinkle it over the top and get the sugar in between all the little layers of fruit. to give a little more caramelization when you bake it. And you can see that I didn't even use, I started out with a half a cup of sugar, and I think I used half of that. So if you have some sugar problems or you don't want it as sweet as it could be, you can use as little sugar as you want. But sprinkle that over the top, and then you take your extra bit of pie crust and you fold it up over the edge and crimp it together. And then you take an egg, beaten egg, and you egg wash the sides of that and sprinkle on some, I use decor sugar, which is a coarse crystal sugar, but if you had some coarse brown sugar, or like I said before, even if you had some sesame seeds, you could dress it up by sprinkling sesame seeds on the side. Then you bake that in a 425-degree oven for 25 minutes and take it out, and there you go.
Yep. It looks good. It is good, and because Jeff had the time, a little time off from work, he was able to come down and do a show with me. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching number 280, Our Kitchen, and have a good day, and we hope to have a good year coming up. Thank you. Oh, I must say that if you want any of these recipes, which are kind of off the top of our head for these, you can send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Dalton Community Television, 151 Park Avenue, Dalton, Mass. 01226. That's all from Our Kitchen today.